Undertale is a tiny game released on the 15th of September 2015 and started life as a $5,000 Kickstarter. And it's here you can see its creator Toby Fox's bewilderment as the budget soars to 10 times his initial ask, as well as little updates like Fox having to take time away from development to sit his college exams. And what I find interesting about these posts is you can see in them a person who had no idea what he was making or what it would become. And how could he? 5 years later, Undertale has become one of the most massive and bewildering forces on the internet. Seriously, I've done 2 videos like this, and exploring those fandoms, it felt like digging through a mine, but Undertale's was more like staring into a massive, yawning abyss, infinite and ever expanding. And what I want to do today is look at how that happened, how the internet took this tiny little game and transformed it into one of the most loved and hated phenomenon online. And to do this, we need to start with Undertale itself. I'm guessing a lot of you know the deal with Undertale. You play as Frisk, a small child who has fallen into an underground kingdom of monsters, and from here you can treat them like you would in any other RPG and murder them, or become their friend. It's a cute idea, but in isolation, it wasn't that new or interesting in 2015. Games like Moon having very similar concepts, but releasing 18 years earlier, with non-lethal runs in games being popular by this time. So why then is the simple choice of Undertale's battles a big deal? And I think there's 2 answers to that. The first being its characters. Undertale has great characters, and how much you agree with that is going to define how you feel about this game. Take a character like Undyne. Initially, she just seems like a human murdering machine, but spend time with her and you'll see that her more homicidal tendencies are just an expression of her loyalty to Asgore. That's how much her friendships mean to her, whether it's knowing Papyrus isn't suited to combat and teaching him to cook instead, or appreciating Alphys's pathetic love of anime. She's someone who's able to see people for what they are rather than what they wish they were, and is able to love them for those reasons. And learning all this about a character who first seemed like a standard RPG boss is really endearing. But that same discovery exists for each major character of Undertale, whether it's Alfie's self-deprecating humor hiding an intense layer of guilt and self-loathing, Flowey's hateful, pathetic existence, or Metaton's journey to transition into a body they can be themselves in. Despite the fact that a single playthrough of Undertale takes about 6 hours, you get a lot of these characters, and I think a reason for that is how subtly their personalities are communicated. Each character has a home that you can explore, full of all these little touches, like Papyrus's race car bed. As a side note, I really like the mirror in Toriel's home that just says, "It's you." What a cute little joke, and certainly not a prelude to any massive emotional. As well as each character having their own highly expressive theme music. Like take Asgore, the king of the monsters waiting for you at the end of the game, who you are constantly told is this super nice guy, but who has also murdered 6 human children, your soul being the 7th and final one he needs to break the barrier trapping his people underground. And his theme music, the reluctant but frantic Bergentrocken, captures that. It is the sound of a good person trying to convince himself to do something awful for what he believes is the greater good. And that same level of expression can be found everywhere in the Underground, even in a lot of the really tiny little side characters. From Burgerpants, the nihilistic, vaguely unhinged fast food worker, to Muffet the Spider, who is about as adorable as you could make one of those abominable hell creatures, to Napstablook, the depressed ghost, who at one point asks you to lie on the ground with him and listen to trance music, and Oh my god, I don't know that I've ever related to a fictional character this much. And it all comes together to create this world of memorable little creatures who have been forced underground by humans, yet have still managed to scrape together happiness in that. But there's this undercurrent of longing for something more, a desire to escape the underground for a better life under an open sky. And it's sad, but it's that contrast that gives the world of Undertale its beauty. The reason I make a big deal about this is if you don't care about these characters, if you don't believe in this world, then the choices offered by Undertale's battle system, they don't mean anything. But if you do, that's where the option to kill or spare these monsters starts to carry real emotional weight. But it would still all be for nothing if the game didn't react to your decisions in a meaningful way. And Undertale is extremely reactive to the player's actions, even in some really tiny, idiosyncratic ways. Like Sans being able to tell that you've reloaded your save file and are experiencing the same sequence again. But where this becomes a big deal is how Undertale reacts to your actions to shape the larger story. If you go through the entire game without killing a single monster, you'll go down the pacifist route, which means 0 level ups or stat increases, and it's difficult, but it's the only way to experience the full story of Asriel, Asgore and Toriel's son, killed by humans and now transformed into the evil, emotionless flower that tried to take your soul at the beginning of the game. The final battle with him seeing you.
Who are you?
One final act of repentance shatters the barrier sealing the monsters underground, freeing them to pursue a new life on the surface. At the end of it, there's just a feeling that you did this. You showed these creatures a real kindness, not through any binary decision, but by consistently doing what you believed was right over what was easy. And the result is an ending that feels meaningful and responsive to your actions. A genuine statement of the power of love over violence, and fuck, I think that's kind of beautiful. But it's also here that things get really interesting.